Hello and welcome back to Baby Elias's stories. We now return to The Secret Speech by Tom Rob Smith. 2 weeks later. Soviet Union, Moscow, 19 November. His first day at work. Leo's hands were covered in flour, and his face was hot from the ovens. Taking out a batch of newly baked loaves, he heard Philip call out, "Leo, you have a visitor!" An immaculate Frau Panin entered the bakery. He surveyed the premises with condescending good humor. Leo observed, "No request we can't accommodate. Rye with coriander seeds or sweetened with honey rather than sugar. Kosher or oil-free." He took one of the still warm loaves, breaking it, offering it to Panin, who accepted, taking a bite. The man who'd betrayed him and who'd collaborated with his enemies showed no embarrassment, no guilt or shame, chewing contentedly. "No, it's very good." Panin put the bread down, dusting the flour off his fingers, and checking that Philip was out of earshot. "Leo, no one is going back to Stalinism. There will be no more mass arrests. The camps are closing. Interrogation cells are being ripped out. These changes are in progress. They will continue, but they must continue in secret, without any admission of wrongdoing. We shall go forward, without looking back." Despite everything, Leo couldn't help but admire Panin. He could have arranged for Leo to have never made it out of Budapest. Yet Panin weighed up every decision on a purely practical basis. He did nothing out of malice or spite. With the uprising defeated and Fraera dead, Leo was on irrelevancy, and so he'd been allowed to live. "Frau Panin, what do you want from me? You won." "I would argue that we all won." "No, I lost a long time ago. I'm just trying not to lose anymore." "Leo, whatever you may think of me, my decisions were always for," Leo interrupted. "The greater good?" Panin nodded, adding, "I want you to work for me. We need men like you." "Men like me?" Leo let the phrase hang before asking, "You're going to reopen the homicide department?" "No, we're not ready for that yet." "When you are, I'll be here." "Baking rye with coriander seeds?" Panin smiled. "Very well. I hope one day I can be of some help to you." It was an apology of sorts, a secret apology. Leo accepted the gesture. "There is one thing you could do for me." Same day. At the reception to the Moscow Conservatory, Leo asked for Pyotr Orlov, one of the country's most promising young violinists. He was directed to a rehearsal room. Orlov, in his late 20s, opened the double soundproof doors, remarking brusquely, "Yes?" "My name is Leo Demidov. Frau Panin said you could help." Hearing Panin's name, the violinist became more amiable. The violinist became more amiable. The rehearsal room was small. There was a music stand, an upright piano. Orlov was holding his violin by the neck. His bow was on the stand, along with a stub of wax. "What can I do for you?" Leo opened his folder, taking out a single sheet of paper, a hole burnt through the middle. The hole had been burnt 7 years ago, using a candle in Lazar's church. As the paper had turned black, Leo had impulsively changed his mind. He'd placed it on the stone floor, stamping out the flames. The charred music, all that remained of the arrested composer's work, had been stored in Lazar's file, evidence of his counter-revolutionary associations. Orlov stepped up to the stand, examining the few surviving notes. Leo commented, "I can't read music, so I don't know whether there's even enough to get a sense of the whole piece. I wanted to hear it played aloud as much as is possible." Orlov raised his violin to his chin, picked up his bow, and began to play. Leo was not in the least bit musically minded. He'd expected it to be slow and sad, but it was fast and fun, and he liked it very much. It took him a moment to realize that there was no way Orlov could play for so long with the few notes he'd been given. Confused, he politely waited for Orlov to stop. Eventually, he did. "This is very popular. One of the most successful recent compositions." "You must be mistaken. The music was thought to be lost. The composer died before it was ever performed." Orlov was puzzled. "It was performed last week. The composer is alive." In the hallway of an exclusive apartment block, Leo knocked on the door. There was a long delay before a middle-aged man opened the door. A servant dressed in a neat black uniform. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Robert Meshik. Do you have an appointment?" No. He won't see anyone without an appointment." Leo handed over the burnt sheet of music. "He'll see me." Reluctantly, the man obeyed. "Wait here." Some minutes later, the man returned without the music. "Please follow me." Leo followed him through the expensively furnished apartment to a studio at the back. The composer, Robert Meshik, was standing by the window, holding the single burnt sheet of music. Addressing his servant, he said, "You may leave us." The man left. Leo remarked, "You have done well for yourself." Meshik sighed. "In some ways, I am relieved. I have been waiting for this moment for many years, for someone to appear with the evidence and announce me a fraud." Leo asked, "You knew the real composer?" "Kirill, yes. We were friends. We were best friends. We would practice together. I was jealous of him. He was a genius. I am not." Leo asked, "You denounced him?" "No, never. I loved him. That is the truth." "You have no reason to believe me." "When he was arrested, of course, I did nothing. I said nothing. He and his music tutor were sent to a labor camp. After Stalin died, I tried to find him. I was told that they had not survived. I grieved. I had the idea to copy one of Kirill's pieces as a memorial to him. They'd been lost, but that didn't matter. I'd heard him play them many times. They were in my blood. I made some minor changes. The composition was a success. But you didn't declare its origins. I was seduced by the praise. Since then, I have copied every piece I could remember, making minor variations, taking all the credit for them, enjoying all the perks. You see, Kirill had no family. He had no one. No one believed in him. No one knew his music except his teacher. And me. There was one other person. Who? The wife of a priest. She is how you found me? In a way, yes. After a silence, the composer asked, "Are you going to arrest me?" Leo shook his head. "I don't have the authority to arrest you." Meshik seemed not to understand. Then tomorrow, first thing, I will tell the world the truth." Leo walked across the room, staring out of the window at the snow that had begun to fall. There were children playing in it. "What will you say? That the state murdered the genius and you stole his music? Who will love you for that confession? Who wants to hear it? What would you have me do?" The snow was beginning to settle. The final chapter. Same day. Perched on the rooftop of Leo and Raiza's apartment block, Zoya shivered as the snow fell around her. Every day since her return, she climbed up here, scrambling up, staring out over the city. No rooftops were collapsing. No gunfire sounded out, and the tiles didn't shake as tanks passed by. She felt as if she was neither in Moscow nor anywhere else, but in limbo. The sense of belonging she'd experienced in Budapest had nothing to do with that particular city or the revolution, and everything to do with Malish. She missed him, or was it that part of her was now missing? He'd taken the weight of loneliness off her shoulders, and now that weight felt heavier than ever. They'd buried Malish outside of Budapest. She hadn't wanted his body left in the hospital, lost among the dead, one of many, with no family or friends to grieve over him. Leo had carried him through the Russian encirclement, digging in the frozen soil. They'd buried him by a tree, back from the road, tanks and trucks passing by. She used his knife to carve his name into the trunk of the tree, remembering that he couldn't read. She'd scratched a heart around the letters. At first, when Zoya had climbed onto the roof, Raiza had hurried after her, no doubt fearful she was going to jump off. Understanding that it was nothing more than a place to sit, Raiza no longer interfered, nor did Leo, allowing Zoya hours here without interruption. She scooped up a clump of snow and watched it melt in her hands. Tidying up after dinner, Raiza turned. Zoya was standing in the doorway, shivering, snow in her hair. Raiza took hold of Zoya's hands. "You're cold. Do you want to eat? I put some aside for you." "Is Elena in bed?" "Yes." "Leo?" "He's not back yet." Elena had returned from the hospital, rejuvenated by the miracle of Zoya being alive. Zoya had wept with guilt at the sight of her sister. Elena was dangerously thin. Even without being told, Zoya understood that her little sister would not have survived much longer. Elena hadn't questioned events, overwhelmed with happiness, indifferent to the details of what had happened or why. Her family was alive. Raisa knelt down before Zoya. "Talk to me." There was the sound of a key in the front door. Leo entered, red-faced and rushed. "I'm sorry," Raisa replied. "You're in time to read to the girls." Zoya shook her head. "Can I talk to you first? To both of you?" "Of course." Leo entered the kitchen, pulling up 2 chairs, sitting beside Zoya. "What's wrong?" "I've always told Elena everything. Since I got back, she's been so happy. I don't want to spoil that. I don't want to tell her what happened. I don't want to tell her the truth. I don't want to tell her that I left her alone." Zoya began to cry. "If I tell her the truth, will she forgive me?" Though he wanted to, Leo did not yet feel he could put an arm around her. He said, "She loves you very much." Zoya looked up at Leo, then at Raisa. "But will she forgive me?" The 3 of them turned to the doorway. Elena was standing in her nightgown. She'd only been home for a week and already she'd transformed, gaining weight, the color returning to her skin. "What's going on?" Zoya moved toward her. "Elena, I have something to tell you." Leo stood up. "Before you do, why don't I tell you a bedtime story?" Elena smiled. "One that you made up?" Leo nodded. "One that I made up." Zoya wiped away her tears and took hold of Leo's hand. The end. "Good night, baby Elias."